What's up, everybody? I'm Nick.
And I'm Colin.
And we are Still Bussin'. Welcome back to the show, guys. Great to have you with us, as always. Today's an interesting one. We're talking about why sometimes not quitting your day job is very bussin'.
Very.
I think all the time we hear about, especially on social media and this kind of hustle culture that says, yeah, quit your day job and go pursue 7 different side hustles and walk dogs for a living while you're making sales calls. And it's kind of like, whoa, there's a lot of hustle going on. And people are saying, quit this job you're not passionate about. However, we're here to say you really want to carefully evaluate that before you decide to make that decision, because a lot of times the day job actually ain't so bad, right? And there is some truth to the don't quit your day job, kid saying. And we're not saying don't quit your day job, but quit your day job only if it's the particular right move to do. Mm-hmm. And hopefully we can help you clarify if you're in that place of like, not sure what you're actually doing, not sure how things are going with your current job and where it's going to go, and if you want to jump ship or not. And hopefully we can bring a little value and have a little fun there.
And to your point, there are always times where you have a moment to improve in life, and of course capitalize on it. Of course, when those opportunities, those white whales present themselves, go after them, slay them. It's worth it. But there's this culture, like you said earlier, of like, oh, do you work a stable 9 to 5 that pays you well enough to pay your bills? Sounds terrible. Go do 14 things and make 5 times that. But like, people also have to understand that their happiness and their sanity is a metricable value that they can then apply and quantify when they're doing these kind of thought processes. And, you know, it may be a bit hypocritical for the two of us who are gig workers and have multiple projects going on, but there was also an evolution that got to that point. And I think that's something that's really missed in a lot of people's kind of like trains of logic, where it's like, yeah, if you got a job that pays you, again, let's just use that $5,000 a month, right? If you got a job that pays you $5,000 a month, and you have this amazing idea that you genuinely love, and you don't like your job. Let's just say you're a data processor for a, customer service company, and it's a great gig and it's needed and it's always employable and it's safe and it's secure, but it's not your passion. You're not about the data entry or whatever.
For sure.
And you go, I do have this idea where I can create YouTube videos for shelter animals, and I can better the shelter animal world. And it's like, wonderful concept. How much money does that take? How much does the camera cost? What is your time to upload those YouTube videos? How long until a YouTube video can be monetized, right? All those metrics we've talked about in previous episodes, and also especially going back to that 3 project juggle like we talked about in the previous episode, where we talked about the priority system, and maybe your A priority is still your main job, but this can be a B. And over time, you can generate multiple projects. Again, you and I both have like 3 things going on at once.
Yep.
And something, maybe more if you consider the things that we're creating, investing, like this show where we're generating some new content and trying to create a new outlet. But there's a big difference between that and like, go quit your job that is totally fine and hope that you can pave 19 streets a day and make 40 grand a day. It's like, maybe not.
There were times I've thought about just leaving it all behind to start a power washing business, but I haven't done that yet. I do love power washing stuff.
Yeah.
It's super fun.
Yeah, it is.
but it's like, I think we tend to over romanticize what's on the outside of a day job and under romanticize what's happening day to day in our day job.
Yeah.
And we always kind of think that things are worse than they actually are.
Yeah.
I've been guilty of this before too. And especially when I did finally make a decision to sort of leave a traditional 9 to 5, there were some moments where I looked back and I was like, wait a minute, that wasn't so bad. I was making pretty good money. And there are a lot of factors you don't think about when you jump ship, or when you want to jump ship to go be an entrepreneur, for instance, like a good 9 to 5 job. Now, if you have a bad 9 to 5 job, maybe there's abuse happening at work, or there's like, there's absolutely, you can't see objectively, can I climb anywhere here? Can I give myself new roles, new responsibilities? Is there anywhere for me to get a little bit more meaning out of this job? And you can't create meaning for your job. Truly, not just, I hate this job, I hate these people I work with. Hang on a second. Can you take a step back and be like, wait a minute, maybe this is just my bread and butter thing that I'm keeping day to day, but like, okay, I can get through it because I have this other thing that I'm working on, the ABC juggle.
Yeah.
But if you think about it, a salaried job, you've got pay, W-2 pay, which already has a bunch of taxes taken out of it, right? Maybe you've got benefits, maybe you've got company events, fun things happening. You know, that we were using this 5K a month example. Say you're making that, you're actually making more like 7 or 8 grand a month when you know, if you were to compare that to out in the real world. So people saying, I'm making 6 figures doing this, you know, obscure thing that's an entrepreneurial job. It's like, well, actually, if you were just at a day job, that's actually like 4K a month. So, that's livable in a lot of the parts of the US. Is like, you can survive on that. You can pay rent, you can, you know, get your groceries paid and that kind of stuff. So
there's also an aptitude in there. There's an aptitude that you have to understand whether or not you have. Like, I love numbers. I love numbers. I love math. I love spreadsheets, right? It's a very bizarre little thing about me. But that aptitude for those financial loopholes work for me as a business owner, because I can jump into QuickBooks with my CPA and my accountant, and I can find as many loopholes and as many fun little patterns of tax savings than most CPAs can.
Mm-hmm.
That happens to be something that I did not know I enjoyed until I absolutely had to do it when I started running my own company when I was like 20, right? Just as an independent contractor, because no one would hire me at production companies. So I had to make my own business.
Yeah.
But like a lot of people very understandably struggle with that. And now you're talking about going back to yes, you make 6 figures as a small business owner, but you're paying your own health insurance. You're paying your own IRA Roth. You're paying your own investments, and you're hiring a CPA. You're hiring a tax person. You might be getting screwed on your tax back end. I had a couple years where things went really south for me because I trusted the wrong person and then had to be even more involved. What's your aptitude for your involvement in the bookkeeping and the management of money and the outflow, right? So if you're not down with that part of it, quantify that value. Again, so 5,000 a month isn't as exciting to you as this 6-figure side hustle. What's the value of not having to deal with shit you don't want to deal with? You know what I mean? And like, you have to know, again, hey, I love bookkeeping. I love finding financial loopholes. Great. Small businesses are going to be great for you. I can't stand bookkeeping. Numbers aren't my thing. I'm creative. I just want to do sales or XYZ or whatever. Yeah. Well, then you can go guarantee a paycheck every month and feed yourself and have some play money to invest in projects you want to do through your day job.
Huge.
You know? Oh, there was also something I want to touch on in there that you brought up, which was there's the side hustle thing, and there's the you know, again, the project juggle, which is something we're always going to go back to because it is a really good tiering system for life.
It's a tenet of this podcast at this point.
It is. and it's also just a great way to like prioritize your values and your time management and your resource investment. Like, it's a good way to just structure things. But something that, you know, we had spoken about before was, forgive me if I'm butchering this, I keep messing up the saying, fastest alone, furthest together, right?
Fastest alone, furthest together.
Yeah.
It's how we progress in life.
Yeah. And the concept is, sure, maybe you can start a little business right now independently and you can go fast to 100,000 a year, right? You can do it in 4 months with a team of people, you and I and someone else, us and 5 other people. You can go so much further. Maybe it takes a little bit longer, but you can scale your business to 2 or 3 million. Well, those people may not all have the capability to quit their jobs. I know I don't. I've had people approach me with opportunities and they're like, all you got to do is quit your job for 2 years. And I'm like, hey, not going to happen. I can't do that. I don't have the capability. I don't have the resources and the available wealth to just not make money I don't even have the capability to not make money for 3 months at this point. Like, so
he's very bad with money, people. Do not take financial advice from this guy. He's talking about tax loopholes and how he doesn't have money.
Well, for the record, I didn't have money because I took a long vacation.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Love this guy.
But so
great on the show.
But so if you're in this position to completely give up your income, great, and maybe try it. But like, consider, well, what if I do have this safe job? And again, I'm able to allocate a certain amount every month, and I can then pool those resources and invest in tools with a group of people as opposed to just having to shoulder everything and get something. again, let's go back to the power washing business, right? Do you want to take on power washing and website SEO and website building and tax laws and bookkeeping and sales and and
'Cause that's the other side of that.
That's the other side of that.
Yeah.
Or do you want to come up with a great idea and maybe you have a friend you want to do it with, or someone that wants to be in business, or maybe you don't, maybe you have to do it alone. But now again, instead of saying I can do it with these people and we have resources to invest in this business that we believe in, or you're doing it alone, which is still going to be fine. But now you're going, well, now I don't have to make as big of a margin to support myself. I've got a job. And now this other project that I am developing, let's just say it brings in an additional $3,000 a month. I can still pocket an extra $1,500 a month for doing something I really enjoy and allocate $1,500 a month towards the bookkeeping and the SEO and the website development and the insurances and the all the stuff you don't want to be doing. So it's going back to that aptitude and that fastest alone, furthest together. Understand what you want to do. I just had a conversation last night with my sister. She was considering a career change, which is still bussin' in your 30s, and she she's considering this new path, and she really accurately said, like, I want to find something, and I won't say it because I know she's still figuring it out, but basically she said, I want to find something that fulfills this XYZ concept in my mind.
Yeah.
And I approached her and I said, you're absolutely right. You should pursue that. And you should consider that. But I said, reverse engineer it. Don't think of what can I do to get to here. Think of what the end result is. That's a dream end result. And then reverse engineer the path from there, because she has a great job and she has a good income and she's got resources and time and incredibly intelligent friends and some family members who can help us and with knowledge and paths. And so don't think of what do I have to do to get to here. Think of the end result and reverse engineer it, which again, you cannot do if you're giving everything up to pursue one thing, because then you have to meet your monthlies.
Yeah, totally. You got to keep those in mind. You got to keep the monthlies in mind as you just try to think to the end result, think of the dream down the line and figure it out coming backwards.
Yeah. And then
That's
build
huge.
it out with the things that you already have in place. That job that you're maybe not super passionate about, but is now giving you a chance to put pieces in place for that dream down the road.
Yeah.
Way more valuable than just pulling the ripcord and figuring it out.
Yeah. And I think a lot of people will say, but my day job is just so busy. I don't have time to work on this. I don't have time to work on that. Well, you do like it. And if you think it's better on the other side of quitting a day job to become like an entrepreneur, it's even more, you think like, my day job's so busy. I'm already like, I have to do extra stuff. Like I bring homework with me, and like sometimes I have to work on weekends. It's like, as an entrepreneur, you're working like all the time.
Yeah.
So I actually work more now. I hope none of my previous bosses ever hear this, but I actually work more. I think it's super inconsistent hours and it's all over the place, but I probably cumulatively work more than I ever did at a day job now.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Because it's, you think I hate my boss and I just want to clock in and clock out. Use that to your benefit, right? Like you can clock in and clock out, metaphorically, and set aside some of that time, because if you hate your boss, well, guess what? If you're an entrepreneur, your clients are now your boss, and you have 19 of them, and they're like, they all want different things, and a lot of times with clients, there's not like 3 strikes, you're out. Like with a boss, they're kind of like, okay, well, you sort of messed this up, do better next time. A lot of times with clients, if you screw something up, they're just like, okay, no, we're not going to work with you again. No more money. They don't really give you second chances. So, you're always beholden to somebody. That's what a job is. That's what work is providing a value or a service or a product to somebody else. And you're there to serve them. So like either you're working for a boss and you're there to help push forward the whole company's vision, the whole company's mission, and make your boss look better and better, or you're there to work for your clients. So it's,
Which to that point, when you're at a company, everyone understands the workload, because there hopefully at many companies, there's transparency between employees, workload, and shared goals. One difficult thing and I want to say this, and then I want to say a caveat to all this. one difficult thing that people, especially me, had to learn in my early 20s was you cannot blame a lack of product on a different client, right? You can't go to your client and be like, I can't accomplish that because this other client's paying me more. Every client is your main priority. And if every client's your main priority, every single person sometimes at once can request something and you have to pull that off.
Yep.
Not to say, again, so like, that's fine. And at a job, you can create priority structures and everyone understands and no one's going to like, oh, my boss asked so much of me. Well, just wait till 5 bosses are asking so much of you and you're not allowed to let any of them know that there are other people bidding on your time.
Sure.
Right? Everyone has to be your main priority. So I say that. The caveat is I just realized something as we're talking. It sounds like we're very anti build your own business and do your own thing.
Yeah, no, we're not.
Absolutely not.
We're pro thinking it through.
Exactly. It's not about don't do these things because of the downfall. The thing that I think we should reiterate that we're raging against right now is this online culture of it's all going to be fine. Jump out of the airplane without a parachute and just know that you're going to land on pillows when you hit the ground.
And there's just so much.
There's so much. And every influencer is like, just start a Forex trading company and make $90,000 a month with $2 invested and just go, the power washing thing and like
be a power washer, start a 7-figure e-commerce brand, also drop ship while you are. I'm out of ideas now, but you just get hit with all of them. And it's super overwhelming and it makes you hate whatever you're doing. Well, that's great. And probably there's truth to each one of those things. But if you want to eventually get away from a day job, then pick one. Pick one of those things, because those people, to their credit, sure, maybe it's a little spammy, it's a little advertising, but probably there are tons of people that did make a ton of money doing 100%. E-com businesses and doing that stuff, but they put their head down and just focus on that one thing. And you got to just say, hey, I think out of all of this quote unquote, like maybe scammy type stuff, I'm going to try one of these, go deep, let myself not get distracted with, oh, this side hustle is not at 7 figures yet. Let me try drop shipping instead. Let me don't jump too early. Just focus in on one.
And don't leap into these things because you think it's going to be easy money. Yeah. Acknowledge that it's going to suck and it's going to be so hard, which is why if you create your 3-project juggle tier system, you acknowledge and are honest with yourself about what your aptitudes are. You acknowledge and are honest with yourself about what your resources are and how your time management is and how much you're willing to put up with and what things you're willing to learn and not learn and how to structure those building blocks and how to scale that effectively. Then you've got a bulletproof plan for a business. Then you have thought everything through. You've thought through the ups, you've thought through the downs, you're willing to put in the failures. And you're going to weather those storms. Quickly, I want to give an anecdote about a storm that I weathered a few years back that like almost broke me. I was 27, I think, 27, 28. And, had been slowly turning up my production capabilities over time. At the time, that up until my 30s, that was really all I did. I just was a content producer and director and cinematographer and all that stuff. And I loved it. I genuinely loved it. I believed it was my only purpose and passion in this whole world, right? So I would just take on more and more. And also I had just come off of like being homeless like 3 years prior. So the idea that I had an apartment and a car and a girlfriend that I could like take out to dinner was like,
keep doing this.
Oh my God. It was the most, I thought I was a billionaire at my $6,000 a month or whatever I was making. Like it was insane. But through that process, I wanted more. And I kind of like pre-internet entrepreneur hype built this dream in my head of like, well, if you've got 3 clients paying you $6,000 a month, do 12 clients and make $50,000 a month. Like I just was like, I had this dream of grandeur because I wanted more. And again, I felt so good with the success I had that I began this process, started turning it up, get more people, took on more projects. The problem was I didn't have something that I had figured out how to scale because I was selling my mind to people.
You were faster alone.
Right? I was faster alone.
You were going faster alone.
But I didn't know how to scale a business that was based on my mind and my style. And it's that's a whole nother subject matter. But basically, I was trying to scale something that had a finite quantity. I'm only awake so many hours a day.
Yeah.
And there's only so many hours in a day. So if something takes me 6 hours and I book 5 of them, you can't do that in a day. It's just impossible. But I did. And it got to the point where I had booked, and this was like over 4 months, I had booked 5 full-time clients that were all paying me good money. It And, again, I'm 26 and I've
Yeah.
got 5 clients all paying me, I think like 4,000 or 5,000 each. Game changing from the homeless guy 3 years prior. But I found myself waking up at 8 a.m., going to the TV network for the show I was producing, working there from 9 until 7. While I'm there and producing the TV show, and I'm trying to build out the projects for my other clients. I'm doing 2 clients per day. Then I would leave the TV studio at 7. I'd go get a quick bite on the way to the next production company I was freelancing for, where I was doing overnight production capabilities,
Mm-hmm.
and then would work from 8 p.m. until 3 a.m., 6 days a week. All this was 6 days a week. And then would go to sleep at about 4, because I had to drive from Glendale back to my Culver City apartment. Would go to sleep at 4 a.m., wake up at 7 and do it again the next day. I did that 6 days a week and freelanced to finish up the stuff I didn't finish during the week on weekends. I lasted 3 months before I broke down crying. It like bawling to my girlfriend at the time. And I remember I was in the middle of an edit and my computer froze and crashed and I lost like 2 hours of work. This is back before I figured out like autosaves and had a server built or whatever. But I remember I had done this thing that people are selling now as this great lifestyle. I was doing it and I was murdering myself, and I was doing the thing that I loved, that I believed I was put on this earth to do, which was make fun content and be a storyteller. And I was in my apartment in front of a frozen Mac crying. And I remember saying to my girlfriend, I can't keep going like this.
Yeah.
I cannot keep doing this. I destroyed myself in pursuit of this infinite dream. And people have to remember that's I was very irresponsible with my time, but some version of that is going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
You're gonna have a client that figures out a loophole, and maybe they're gonna screw you out of a bunch of money, and you're gonna lose everything. You're gonna have a contract fall through after you already made an initial investment, and you're gonna lose a shitload of money. Every company has those giant pitfall moments. Amazon had like 7 of them. Google has had a dozen. Facebook has had a dozen. Every $1 trillion company has had them. If you've got a system in place and you've talked through and thought through all of these things we've just talked about in this episode, you can weather those storms without losing it all, because you've built a foundation with your primary job. You've built a foundation with thinking through your aptitudes. You understand why you're doing these things. And you're not going to find yourself crying in front of a frozen MacBook at 3 a.m. You're going to understand what to do next, and you're going to have a better, perseverance system in place. And so I tell that story as a cautionary tale, because again, I was killing it and I was living this dream.
Yeah.
But it almost broke me, and it almost pushed me out of the industry, because at one point I was just like, why, if this is me being successful, why would I pursue this?
Yeah.
And so it's, you just got to know what you're down for and know how to scale and think it all through, because I did not. And I would encourage other people not to go that path.
Yeah. Well, you achieved the dream that you had set, but then you realize it wasn't.
Wrong dream.
It wasn't what it was.
Yeah.
And also you were there to recognize the point at which you maybe said, I've reached this limit and I need a different set of skills or experience to be able to now juggle this much and scale. Like you're a juggler, you need to figure out how to grow a 4th arm or whatever, or 3rd arm.
Yeah.
And then there is some letting go that happens at that point. 'Cause then it's like, well, am I juggling these projects because I'm grown as much as the one-man band, or is the next thing that I want to do I want to actually scale it to a production company, at which point I'm going to have to, it's not all going to be ideas on out of my head. That's not going to can't be the limiting factor anymore. I need other people in there, and I'm going to have to relinquish creative control and stuff to go to that next level. And you hit that breaking point, and it sounded like you didn't want to give up the moneymaker, which is your mind.
Yeah.
You were like, I'm at the capacity right here, and it sounds like you went a little bit past it if you were falling in front of your MacBook Pro. But I think if you had decided to push through that, you probably would have had to let go of something, get someone else on board, find that point.
Yeah. And I also refuse to acknowledge those things that I didn't have the wherewithal to acknowledge those aptitudes that we talked about earlier, right? I was doing all my bookkeeping and invoicing and accounting and taxations and loopholes and scheduling and ad sales, or not ad sales, but new business sales. And I was doing all these things because I didn't understand the idea that I could invest some of that money I was making back into other resources to take that on. I didn't even think of that because at the time I had done everything myself. So I assumed everything was myself.
Yeah.
And then again, that's why we're talking about this now. It's like, yes, go pursue that dream.
Yeah.
Go after that pie in the sky. Think honestly through and think through what you do and don't want to do, because if you can build those resources and know where you do and don't want to invest your time or your money, you can then create a game plan that compensates for that. I could have created, to your point, I could have created a game plan that compensates for my inability to scale my knowledge by creating some sort of workbook and finding a freelancer to work as like an assistant to assemble projects for me and do the data culmination on these producing jobs and then do the grunt work that I was doing all myself. But I didn't even think of that. I just didn't have the aptitude for it. And so we're encouraging you to be better than us. So
that's why we impart this knowledge.
Yeah.
Let me really quickly just make sure I didn't leave anything else out that I wanted to talk about here.
The part of the podcast where I sing into the mic.
No, don't
all of me.
Yeah. It pretty much covers everything I wanted to talk about for this.
Sweet.
It was a lightning fast speed round. I still think we went pretty long, but we're very long-winded people.
Yeah.
But yeah, really appreciate you guys joining in, listening in today. Hopefully this is somewhat helpful on the idea of whether or not quitting a day job is really worth it. Don't believe all the hype out there. It's not always grass is greener on the other side of quitting your day job. Sometimes it can be, but have a good dream and a good end goal in mind if that's something that you do eventually want to do.
It is always worth it. Pursuing the dream is always worth it. It is not worth it if you're not willing to think it through.
We'll see you next time.